Hello, and welcome back to Spaces or Laces. I'm your host, Jeff Meyer. We're going to do another Light 'em Up segment, a quick segment on the best running backs ever at Pitt versus Penn State. Yesterday, dived into the quarterback conversation. Today, we're going to talk running backs. And to start it off, I'm just going to put it out there. The best running back ever in Pitt's history, who also went on to have a great NFL career, Tony Dorsett. Looking through the list for Penn State, I feel like it was a little harder to differentiate who the best running back ever was, but I finally selected Curt Warner after looking at some of the research. Want to name some people for Pitt and Penn State that also should be mentioned. For Penn State, one person I forgot about, which was pretty interesting, was Evan Royster, Franco Harris, Larry Johnson, John Cappelletti, I believe that's how you pronounce it, and Saquon Barkley, who's currently in the NFL for the Giants. Then on the Pitt side, Tony Dorsett was a clear-cut favorite. But one guy I actually forgot about too on Pitt side, I'm actually kind of embarrassed to admit it, is Curtis Martin. Hall of Famer, great career in the NFL. Honestly forgot he was a Pitt Panther at one point. Then I wanted to mention LaShawn McCoy, who's currently still in the NFL, Dion Lewis, still in the NFL, Craig Hayward, and Ray Graham, who actually played with Ray Graham. Shout out to him. Great player. Unfortunately, an injury kind of hindered the end of his Pitt career and his NFL career. But Ray Graham, at his prime at Pitt, remember the South Florida game, Thursday night game, I dressed for it. He went off. Whether it was catching balls out of the backfield or running the ball, he had a hell of a game. National ESPN spotlight. Shout out to Ray Graham. Man, that guy could ball back in the day. But getting into the best all-time running backs for Pitt and Penn State, Tony Dorsett versus Curt Warner, not very comparable. I'd say when you look at the overall running backs for Pitt and Penn State, it's pretty comparable. You have a Hall of Famer in Franco Harris. You have some really good talent there for Penn State, and then you have two Hall of Famers in Tony Dorsett and Curtis Martin. So I think it's a little bit closer when you look at the running backs as a whole compared to the quarterbacks. But when you compare the best of the best, Tony Dorsett, hands down, much better than Curt Warner. I want to go through some of his accolades and accomplishments in college and NFL. One thing I saw, which blew my mind, didn't even know it was a thing, Tony Dorsett was one of two players, and the other player being Marcus Allen, Hall of Famer, I'll get into that, that have these accolades. Both of them, Tony Dorsett and Marcus Allen, won the Heisman, won a national championship, won a Super Bowl, and was also inducted into the College and NFL Hall of Fame. They're the only two players to ever do that in college and NFL history, which is unbelievable. I didn't even know that was a thing, so I did a little research. So that right there separates. That's all you have to say compared to Tony Dorsett to Curt Warner, honestly. But I want to also go through some of the NFL and college stats. Tony Dorsett, 1979 Heisman and national champ, which I just mentioned. In 2001, the number 33 was retired for Pitt. His jersey was retired. No one will ever touch that jersey again, which is amazing. One thing I saw I thought was funny. Joe Paterno was quoted saying back in the day, "How many ways can you say the word great describing Tony Dorsett?" That right there is hilarious. Penn State's all-time winningest coach. Everyone knows Joe Paterno, everything he stood for and was at Penn State, and even his demise and everything like that. So for him to go out and say one of the best college football coaches of all time, and how many ways can you say the word great describing Tony Dorsett? That right there is amazing. At the point Tony Dorsett was leaving Pitt, he was the all-time leading rusher in college football history, with 6,526 yards, 59 rushing touchdowns, a 5.6 average per carry, 42 catches, 415 yards receiving, and 4 touchdowns. Pretty great college career. But then when you look at the NFL, Hall of Famer, like we've already mentioned multiple times, he had 12,739 yards rushing, 4.3 career yards per carry, 77 touchdowns, 398 catches for 3,354 yards, 13 receiving touchdowns. So he basically total scrimmage yards over 16,000 yards in the NFL in his great career. I think he played 11 years for it was the Cowboys he played for. I think it was 11 years. Then he went somewhere else, maybe got hurt, ended his career because of injuries. But in that time span, I think he was the I think he won Offensive Rookie of the Year for the Cowboys, at least for running backs are concerned. He had multiple Cowboys rushing records at that point. I think he had the rookie rushing record for the Cowboys until Ezekiel Elliott came in and broke that a few years ago. But Tony Dorsett, what he did for the Cowboys, unbelievable in his Hall of Fame career, won a Super Bowl. Then you just compare that to Curt Warner. I mean, NFL career is 6,844 yards. He had a 4.0 yards per carry, 56 touchdowns. Very solid, very respectable NFL career. I saw something. He came in, had a great rookie season, hurt an ACL, kind of derailed his career a little bit, took a season off because of that injury, because back then ACLs were almost killers, but for him it wasn't. He went, played a couple more years, had a very respectable career. Looking at college, his statistics, 3,398 yards, 5.2 yards per carry in college, 24 touchdowns, 56 catches, 662 yards, 6 receiving touchdowns. I mean, Curt Warner was no joke. He also won a national championship at Penn State. It was the 82 season, the 1983 national championship. So both had great college careers. Both won a national championship. The only difference is Dorsett won the Heisman, won the Super Bowl, was the Hall of Fame for the college and NFL. Curt Warner did make the college Hall of Fame, but obviously didn't make the NFL. So when you compare some of the accolades there, they really aren't very comparable. I mean, Tony Dorsett, one of 2 people ever, shout out again, him and Marcus Allen, to win the Heisman, the national championship, a Super Bowl, and then be inducted to the college and NFL Hall of Fame. It's pretty remarkable. Number 33 is retired at Pitt, which it should be and will always be. So, once again, another position down, the quarterback and running back position, taking a check mark for the Pitt Panthers. I'm excited for this weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hinesville will be electric Saturday night, 8 o'clock game. Let's go Pitt, baby.